Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Season 25, Story 3, Silver Nemesis. P.S. I did a review of this story back on the Whoniversal's channel back in 2017, and that review did not get deleted, so you can still check that one out. In the meantime, Silver Nemesis, what do I think of it 2 years later? Okay, I think I gave it a 9 out of 10 in that Whoniversal's review. I think I might take it down to an 8 for this one. But I still like Silver Nemesis. I think it's a very good story. It could have been executed a little bit better. Apparently there is 25 minutes of deleted scenes. Over 20 minutes. So over 20 minutes of bonus and extended scenes from earlier edits of the story. So about 20 to 25 minutes of deleted scenes. Which could have honestly have made a 4th episode. They could actually have gotten away with 4 parts with this story with that amount of deleted scenes. Apparently there is also an extended edition out there that was on the VHS release, but sadly did not make it to the DVD release for some reason. Hopefully the Season 25 Blu-ray should have it, as they seem to be having VHS editions of Battlefield and Curse of Fenric on the Season 26 Blu-ray, alongside their broadcast versions and their special edition DVD special edition versions, which we will also look at when we get to their reviews. Otherwise, release a Silver Nemesis special edition DVD release with both versions on it, which would actually be really good, actually. So can we have a Silver Nemesis special edition, please? Okay, but what's the broadcast story like? Okay, well, the plot sees the Doctor and Ace discover that Earth is in danger from a meteor known as the Nemesis. Before that, we've had a couple of scenes featuring some neo-Nazis wanting to create a Fourth Reich in South America and then on their way to Windsor, whilst Lady Penforth and her servant back in the 1600s make their way to the 20th century. Now, I do have to say, I don't know how the Nazis got any knowledge of the Nemesis. They don't actually state it. I don't know if it's in the deleted scenes or not, but they don't state how they found out about the Nemesis, how they got the bow. The bow apparently went missing in the 1700s, but how did the Nazis get hold of the bow? How did they find out about the Nemesis? There's even a reference to Hitler's sort of knowing and planning for this stage. And I suppose, like Harold Saxon in the end of time, Harold Saxon, aka the Master, he prepared a group of people to be ready for when the time came. So, so I don't know how the Nazis found out about this, and the same goes for the Cybermen. Although, by the sounds of it, it was the Doctor's plan all along to get rid of them. And cyber technology, they could probably find out anyway. Lady Penforth actually has a connection to the Nemesis, as it was, she found it. It was found some living metal from Gallifrey, created by Omega and Rassilon, and she made a statue out of it to look like herself. And the Doctor sent it into space, so now she wants to get it back, and she wants to get revenge from the Doctor. But the Nazis and the Cybermen, I don't know how the hell they found out, although the Doctor seemingly is planning to wipe out the Cybermen like he did with the Daleks with the Omega. This brings up another point. This story has been criticised for being very much like Remembrance of the Daleks, where you got the Ace and the Doctor are in a specific place at a specific time relevant to the show. Not the place, although it's a very British place. The timing is quite specific to the show, 25th anniversary. 25th anniversary. Dimensions in Time would do a similar thing with the 30th. And there was all this 25 years thing. That's what Dimensions in Time does, but with 30. And there's a couple of groups of people trying to search for the Nemesis. You got the Nazi group. You got a group that's personally affected with the thing, and you've got a third party, which is the Cybermen. So there are similarities to Remembrance, although that last one actually, there were sort of 3 parties in Remembrance. It was just the groups themselves were a bit different. But yeah, I can see the similarities between the two. Doctor's has something to do with a specific Gallifreyan object. Groups of people are trying to find it. The Doctor and Ace must find it first. Despite that, I actually think this story is really well told, to be honest. Struggling to talk about it, to be honest. Performance-wise, I think Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred are brilliant, as always, and I love Ace's reaction when the Doctor tells her to blow up the Cyberman's ship. That was really cool. Didn't see the point of those two half-converted humanoids. I think the Cybermen could have shot at the Doctor themselves without being seen, or they could not have bothered. I don't even know why they have them tried to be attacked at the start. So I think you could have gone rid of those two guys and you probably wouldn't lose much of the story. They could have been removed from the the final draft of the script. Sorry about that. I had some phlegm stuck in my mouth. There is, however, a couple of nice little tie-ins later on. It's a nice little... now I understand. Such as Lady Penform not having her bones in her tomb. And it's then revealed that she climbed... And then we see her climbing in with the Nemesis, and they kind of form with each other. Which means they don't have any bones. She doesn't have any bones when she gets her tomb made. And also there's this rich American lady from the South who's coming back to discover her roots. And it's kind of implied that she could be descended from Penforth. She certainly has some sort of relationship with her neighbours. But could be implied at the very end that it's Richard's. She's a descendant of Richard, the servant. I also like how they film at what was Windsor Safari Park and now Legoland. But yeah, it looks nice, and they've got this great... I don't know if they had it at the actual Safari Park at the time, but it's a nice tower thing that the tomb was being used as. And some pretty cool scenes between the three parties trying to get to the Nemesis and the Doctor trying to stay one step ahead. Another thing I think could have been removed was the skinhead scenes where they... I don't know what their plan was. Were they trying to mug Penforth and Richard? But yeah, and some poor skinhead pricks. They see Penforth and Richard, think they're social workers, and try and confront them and just shout at them for no reason. I don't know what they were planning, mugging them or something. Eventually, Penforth and Richard have them tied up and left hanging in a tree. I guess the Doctor and Ace have to tie them down. Could have had those bits cut, even more so than the half-converted humans. Cyber Leader, once again played by David Banks. He's brilliant. I think they've changed the voice a little bit again, but I think it's more suited to the one from Earthshock. Although there are some points where it doesn't sound like a Cyberman, he sounds a bit humanoid for some reason. I think that might have been whatever they did with the voice in post, perhaps, or maybe there was something wrong with the costume. Some pretty cool Cyberman action scenes. I like how Ace gets confronted by three of them, and she has to choose one to shoot the last gold coin at. I think she shoots at the Cyber Leader, and then the other ones shoot at each other. But the Cyber Leader is not dead. He comes back at the end, and the Doctor pretends to give him the Nemesis, but it's set to destroy the fleet, and Richard kills the Cyberman with a gold-tipped arrow. And yeah, it's really fun. And I think the end of part one does kind of flip the screen round. As I was watching this story with my mum the first time we watched it, and I think she mentioned that at the end of part one, start of part two, it was also her that picked up on the no bones and the ancestry things bits. So yeah. I also like the Windsor setting. I think it's quite fun and enjoyable. Although I do have to say, at the scene at the castle when the Doctor is trying to get this guy to try and see things from his side, the guy's like, "Be quiet, no need to get excitable." What is this guy's deal? Does he just think the Doctor's some sort of crazy lunatic? Actually, that would make a lot of sense. But the Doctor's saying he has to see the Queen. It's an emergency. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, he's just a strange guy. I think he's a bit too calm. I think he could have raised so he's not shout, but talk a little louder. And I think, yeah, and the end of that, I think that scene gets cut in half because the Doctor says, "Oh, we'll just forget about the armed forces." Then Ace and another guy seem to try and stop him from leaving, and it just cuts. And the next time we see them, they're somewhere else. I think they're in the TARDIS arriving at the landing sites. I think half that scene was cut, like in remembrance of the Daleks. Possibly just was just as well, but yeah, it still feels a bit uncut. Maybe, but it still feels a bit awkward. Maybe the extended edition would have seen it. Okay. There's also some very good special effects and some very good visual effects, but I don't think it's 100% perfect. I think the story needed a bit of a polish, and I think it could have been given a bit more of a polish in the editing. I think it needed a bit more of an edit polish, and I think the problem was it was something that was closer to being a 4-part story, and they had to cut it down to 3 parts. So, yeah, I think that kind of let it down a little bit. At least with stories like Battlefield and Curse of Fenric, it doesn't affect them too badly. I might change that statement when I get to the rewatches, but I don't think they're that badly affected. The worst thing was that in Battlefield, the broadcast version was that the Brigadier didn't acknowledge the Czech girl soldier's death, and then in the special edition, I was thankful that they included that scene. So, on the whole, Silver Nemesis is a good story. I find it a good, fun, enjoyable story. There's a couple of execution problems, and I think the script could have done with another draft, but on the whole, Silver Nemesis is a really good story and very entertaining, and lots of good stuff. So I'm going to be giving this story an 8 out of 10. Mentioned. So yeah, I don't hate the story. Actually, what is it that people don't like about the story? Please let me know. Apart from the remembrance of the Dalek similarities and maybe some script or execution needing to be polished, but if you've actually got any genuine problems, then please let me know. But yeah, I personally like this story. Not the best Sideman story, and certainly the weakest of the 1980s compared to Earthshock, The Five Doctors, and Attack of the Cybermen. It is definitely the weakest 80s Sideman story, but not as bad as some other Sideman stories. Revenge of the Cybermen. Ooh, that kind of helped, actually. It's also nice that they're a bit more shinier. They're a bit shinier silver. I like that touch up to the design. Anyway, so that's it from me. Next time, we'll be taking a look at the final story of Doctor Who Season 25, the greatest show in the galaxy. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Lady Penthorpe has the most actual reason to want the Nemesis because, well, she has the most notable. Stop doing that. This up, and this is going to be a terrible review to edit. And despite that, what was that guy's deal? I mean, the Doctor seems to be